like years later, and then he's like,
turn around.
well, damn, just as I thought you cheated.
So I ruined my.
So do we agree that 23andMe ancestry, that whole thing, is a good thing? Or
Oh, no, it's awful.
Because
It's terrible.
I was gonna say that there's been times where like parents will go and
37 years of calling mom and dad,
Yeah.
mom and dad.
yeah.
You are not.
I was perusing Reddit.
Y'all gave me the wrong kid. You have one job, guys. Put a name tag.
Welcome back to another episode of Truth Disorder.
Ayo!
Hey yo!
Bringing that NRG like the Texan Stadium.
Where
Go
we
Browns,
tell
by
you the
way.
truth about our disorders.
Yeah. And we have a disorder, and it's called being truthful.
We openly discuss our disorders.
Yeah.
Now today we're going to talk a little bit about what the F are tariffs.
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Like what the heck is going on with tariffs right now?
So I actually got into it with ChatGPT today.
Oh,
You had an argument with ChatGPT.
Yeah, and I was asking about tariffs, and it was very left leaning, and I was like, hey, can we see the other side of this?
Yeah.
Can we see what the rights might think? Right. So actually, before I get into what are tariffs, I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Start a new topic. Are you left leaning?
Oh, no.
What is Chat?
And while Gary pulls that up, we're going to talk a little bit about what the fuck are tariffs.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about 23andMe because there's a lot of conspiracy going on with data privacy and DNA genetic privacy. And David, what do you got lined up for us today?
No, I was gonna jump on the 23andMe as well because I've actually been super against that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, super against that. And my brother did 23andMe to find out what. So we can talk about that when that topic
I
arises.
spit in a cup as well with ancestry.
Oh, really?
Yep.
What'd you find out? You have the disorder.
I
You
got
have
it,
a
bro.
disorder.
I got a seasoning. Yeah, I know. So I went through the whole thing, and I have a really boring family. I think there's only like one person that was super interesting. He was in the secret society of airmen. So like, there's a secret society of like wartime pilots, and going all the way back to 1900s, and he was in that, and I thought that was super cool. So I did a little thing on him.
Yeah.
It's on one of my Padlets.
I mean, I spit into the cup too, so.
Yeah, but
can't
everybody
lie.
else super boring. I think the next most interesting thing is that I had a relative that died at 19, and he was a teacher, which is crazy to me because he was a teacher at 19. So that means he probably started teaching at like 16, 17, and then died. But that's it. Yeah, that's the end of it.
That's crazy.
Gary's like, and that's it.
And that's it. Yeah. So like, if they sell my information, they're not really gonna find much.
You know what? I saw somebody that looked like you the other day. And I was like,
Were
Gary!
you watching Star Wars?
Gary! Yeah, I was watching Star Wars.
You're like, oh, Adam Driver. That's crazy.
Adam.
Yeah, no,
When they do a biopic, sorry to interrupt, but when they do a biopic of Adam Driver, you best believe I'm fucking auditioning. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I'm there.
no. So I grew up pretty. Like I was super proud of my heritage because I think it was like maybe my dad kind of instilled that into us.
What's your heritage?
So I grew up believing that I was Native American. I have it on my birth certificate that I was Native American, and so yeah, my brother did it. He's also got the COVID shot, but that's for the military told him to do that.
Yeah, of course.
So, but he did it, I think mainly because him and his wife were trying to get pregnant, and they wanted to know if there was any sort of things in their history that they should be worried about and then start focusing on. So he knows, and I'm pretty sure she knows, and she told my wife, but I don't know what the whole ancestry is.
So wait, so he didn't tell you? He didn't share it with you?
No, I had no idea until
Why is
like
he
last year.
gatekeeping your blood knowledge?
He's
I
like,
don't know.
bro, if we go down together. They
I know
sell
that
our
there's
DNA. They sell it together.
Gets
We
like
come in a pair.
gets a random accent like, oh, we're related to Klaus Schwab.
I
I'm
know,
a globalist, yeah.
well, I know growing up, we would actually go to powwows. We were really into that. And my dad, I don't know if he was just smoking peyote or just weed.
Wait a minute,
but
what's
he
a
was super.
A powwow is a real thing?
Oh yeah.
I thought a powwow was something you did with HR before you get fired.
definitely a real
Not
thing.
true? Not
no,
but
I mean, no. I mean, unless he convinced a lot of people to dress up and dance around fires and beat drums. Yeah, no, it's a real thing.
A powwow is an actual ritual.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, it's like an event. Like,
How old were
blown.
you when you found that out? 37. Fuck.
37.
That's crazy.
it's almost like a meeting of the minds. And
I feel bad
like,
using that term now. I use that term all the time.
Did you ride the short bus too?
No, I was no.
Darn, so I was the only one. Shoot.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I know.
yeah.
They
So I
didn't
think,
let me. I didn't have a helmet that fit. My head was too big. I was
You
like
ever-
started tipping over.
Yeah, Peter, you
You can't say that. Okay.
yeah, so I think I've always just been super nervous to feel like, because I mean, Dad left eventually, so I think that maybe that's the one thing I'm holding on to that may be true, and so
You got to get to the bottom of that.
maybe, yeah,
We need to.
maybe
we
we'll
need
do it
so,
live.
Yeah, next
Or,
week
like,
we should like impromptu call.
to my dad, who I haven't spoken to in like 12 years.
Oh, we're not ready for that. Your brother.
That's
your
some
brother.
spicy content.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
We need to set that up.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, hey, Dad, I need you to answer the phone during this time.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
and not say anything bad.
right.
It's fine. He can't. Like, yeah. I feel like people that are on the show that call in can say whatever they want.
Yeah, we give him a pass.
Give him a pass.
We should call Charles.
This is my moment.
This is my moment of glory. Well, I did ancestry, and mine actually came back pretty interesting. Needless to say, but I mean, I could have already figured I was born in where we're at, so my bloodline runs all the way back to the Coelticon Indians,
Oh wow.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
You're
The
a
goal-
full-blown fajita.
I'm a full dude. I'm as mixed as tahine.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Okay, so what else we got in the bag there?
some African American.
Less than 1%. Mine said the same thing.
Nah, it's like 6%.
6?
6, bro.
Dang.
Dang.
Okay.
Like, I'm 46% Native American though,
Okay.
which is pretty cool. Super,
Yeah.
super high. So everybody's always like, man, dude, you should go get on those government subsidies
Yeah.
because you're so
Yeah.
Native American. And so I Googled it one day, just like trying to see how you would go about it. And they're like, denied. You have to affiliate with a
You have to
like,
recognize with a tribe. Yeah.
with a tribe. So I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Let me go find my tribe. Well, the Coelticon Indians are basically extinct. Like we were run over by the
Reindeers?
Comanches,
Okay.
the Comanches, which were settlers here in San Antonio. So it's pretty cool though because it got really detailed. And the Coelticon Indians, like as you do the research, were like small game hunters. We were very fast. Like we like to run and chase like rabbits and like little varmints, and like that's how we survived. But we were our women were basically enslaved to the white man during the Battle of the Alamo. So a lot of our tribe was mixed with Spaniards and like Europeans that were help fighting for the Alamo. So a lot of our men were killed off, and they kept our women. So I'm 46% Native American. The other like 38% was Spanish. So I have a lot of Spaniard, and then the remaining is like European and some other like African American, which is pretty cool.
Well, it's great that you also have like a direction with where that is, right? It's not just Native American. You at least have something, because I mean, a lot of people, no offense, are going to have Cherokee or Apache, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm 1/18th Cherokee.
Yeah.
I'm Elizabeth Warren. I'm like, and so when I was growing up, I was so proud of that, because it may just be on my birth certificate, but I was so proud. And so when people would ask me, I would ask my dad, and so I came from a tribe called the Nez Perce tribe, and it's northwest Washington, Idaho area, and their famous chief is Chief Joseph, and so I actually have pictures and all that kind of stuff, and so when we would talk about that stuff, that's what we would talk about. It wasn't just like Apache or Cherokee or something like that. There was actual history behind it. So
What's wild is I lived in Spokane, Washington, eastern side of Washington, Idaho border, and Chief Joseph, who you mentioned just right now,
holy shit.
So the Spokane have a falls, and the falls have a history and a story behind it that basically had two tribes that were battling over one of the leaders, which was Chief Joseph, was trying to date or marry one of the other tribe's women, and the dad said no. So they had this big territorial war, and Chief Joseph, it said he moved rock and basically moved the rock into the shape of a waterfall to keep the salmon and the fish upstream, and basically cut off all of the tribes that were further down the stream because of that. So it's pretty funny that you bring that up.
That's crazy.
It's pretty funny that you said that they were dating. Because I want to know what dating looks like in TP land. You want to go for a powwow?
I get horse. You go. You get berry. I get horse.
You get.
You go. We watch salmon.
You get. So Gary, go ahead and pull up the Padlet there.
Okay.
Scroll up. Let's talk a little bit about 23andMe, and we'll dive into. Scroll down one. Church of AI. Who put that on there?
That was me.
Or was that Charles?
Yeah. No, actually, yeah.
It might have been Charles.
Yeah. No, that was.
That's probably from last week or something. Or?
Yeah, that was a carryover.
So click that slideshow. Click that button. DJ, play that music. So it's wild with what's going on with 23andMe and Ancestry.com right now with what they're calling is DNA harvesting. So basically they have like these big banks where they store our DNA, and nobody has like any well-versed thought on what it looks like when these companies get sold. So they're basically selling our DNA in these big kind of like corporation structured cells. So 23andMe just recently sold out to Blackstone. Blackstone is an organization that basically buys like medical businesses and companies and house them under their parent company. But Blackstone is known for having issues with like medical insurance, like claims, like they're wrapped up in like all these lawsuits. So a lot of people are starting to raise the flag on what could come of 23andMe selling to Blackstone. How do we know Blackstone's going to be faithful and truthful and actually harboring and protecting our DNA, or are they going to sell it out to scientists who are going to go ahead and start the cloning process?
Well, not only that, there was rumors of this information being used in order to create bioweapons that target specific DNA markers.
Interesting.
So even
COVID
crazier. Yeah, no, right. I mean, I don't know really exactly
or a COVID variant that could only affect
a certain group
of people.
Do you remember when the NIH wrote the article that said the COVID seemed to not have an effect on people with a specific DNA marker? It was like if you had this one marker, or if you were blood type A or whatever it was, like you had a less probability of getting COVID.
I don't know any autistic people that died of COVID, and I'm not even being funny.
I mean, you might have a solid statement.
Tell me one. I'll wait.
Dom's like, wait.
He's like, oh shit.
Dang, I didn't even think about that.
Not one.
But with 23andMe, so here, privacy of your genetic data. So health privacy laws do not apply. So when they ask you deeper questions about your health and things like that, not just for you to spit in the cup, during these big corporational cells, like there's no health privacy law. So HIPAA goes out the window. Everything goes out the window.
Yeah, I wanted to do 23andMe just to know that extra bit of information because we did the Ancestry one. And come to find out, I lived a lie. I thought that was pretty cool because my dad was like, oh, yeah, I grew up in Cleveland. I'm Italian. We're Italian, kiddo. And I'm like, oh, how cool is that? And he was like, yeah, I knew a friend that knew Jimmy Hoffa and like told me all this like crazy stuff. And dad actually lived with like mafia dudes. And I was like, oh, dude, that's super cool. He would say things like minchia, which is, I guess, an Italian curse word. So I would go around to like my second grade classmates and be like, minchia, like thinking I'm so cool.
And then somebody popped you in the mouth. You're like, what is that?
Yeah, like,
what was that for?
Back in my family.
So
My name is Luigi.
So I did
was more
Ancestry.
Borat.
That was awful.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
I got to stop it with these impressions.
No, keep it going. Keep it going. Keep being you, dog. Yeah, and then I did Ancestry, and come to find out, we're not Italian. I told my dad that, like literally on his deathbed.
Wow.
Yeah, no, like
I mean, do you keep that though?
not to drop a neck bomb. I was just like, hey, Dad, by
Dang.
the way, like he was in hospice and stuff, and you could still have conversations, and I would go over and visit, very frequent. I'd read Bible with him and stuff like that. And like, I was like, oh, Dad, by the way, did you know that we're not Italian? He's like, oh, that's crazy. I don't believe that. Showed him the results, and it was like, apparently we are Norwegian. So he thought that was dope, right?
That is, I mean,
Yeah, I was like,
Kinda
that's
dope.
way
that's,
cooler.
that's
dude.
like
It's
a huge
We're
flip.
we're freaking Scandinavian Vikings, baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Boom, boom.
Yeah. Be like, Dad, no wonder you had 5 kids from 4 women. This is awesome. We can explain that. That's a true story.
Gary's like, this explains my early childhood. Like,
Yeah.
no wonder why I loved women so much.
So do we agree that 23andMe, Ancestry, that whole thing is a good thing, or
Oh, no, it's awful.
because
It's terrible.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that there's been times where like parents will go and try and figure something out, and then they get like I heard a story that say a father he did a test on like a parental test on himself and his kid, found out he wasn't the father, and so they leave, and the father's just like, what the hell, you've cheated on me, blah blah blah, and then the mother tests, and the mother's not the mother either.
What?
Yeah, I've seen stories of this, and that's like switch at birth stories, because that's the only way they were able to find out was through like ancestry.com or 23andMe.
That's wild.
Imagine being switched at birth, and the only way you found out. Imagine, because
I can't. I don't even know what I
Like,
mean.
after 37
Yeah.
years of calling mom and dad,
Yeah.
mom and dad,
Yeah.
you are not the father.
I might be a domestic terrorist at that point as a parent.
So
I'm blowing up a hospital.
I was perusing
Y'all
Reddit.
gave me the wrong kid. You had one job, guys. Put a name tag on it and bring it back to me.
Do the Dwight Schrute method, mark like on the foot or something.
Come on, guys. Like there's like I met somebody last week that said that they had a child that they literally had, like, before insurance paid for anything, a $1.2 million to keep that baby alive after it was born premature. 1.2 million. Like, he's like, I literally call this baby the $1 million baby because it is literally the $1 million baby. And now imagine that and getting the wrong kid.
That's crazy.
What?
Yeah, I was perusing Reddit. I found the story about it, so I mean, take that with a grain of salt. But I was perusing Reddit, and the father was like, "What do I do?" And that's what it was. Is he couldn't deal with the fact that maybe his wife had cheated on him, so he went out and cheated to get back at her, and then found out eventually when they tried to work on it, and found out that she was also not related, like years later. And then
What
he's
a
like,
turnaround.
"Well, damn, just FYI, I cheated on you because I thought you cheated."
So I ruined my marriage
Dude,
for a
you
kid
couldn't
that's
write a
not even
better
ours.
story.
But 23andMe saved that.
Dude.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was my MO in my 20s. If a girl hurt me, I would just be like, "Oh yeah, I got you."
Oh, jeez.
You know what's even more wild though is like as movies.
So, hold on. Advice to you guys: if she hurts you, if you can't leave, don't go and cheat, because then you're just gonna end up in this super vicious cycle of stupidity. And then if you have a kid out of it, now everybody suffers, and it gets even worse. And as a guy, well, you really lose, because now you're paying money. And then if you go on to live your life, just don't do it. Just leave, guys. Just
Yeah.
leave. Don't be,
Absolutely.
Something that rhymes with simp.
Wait.
The word is simp. Don't be a simp.
David's
Just
like,
go.
Wait,
a minute.
Go.
what doesn't rhyme with simp? Don't be a pimp.
Yeah.
Dude.
I said it's hard out here for a pimp, trying to make the money for rent.
Terrence Howard.
Yes.
So go ahead. What were you saying? Sorry.
Lost my train of thought. But anyway, so I shot a video earlier this week. Like, it's so funny that Hollywood throws all this stuff in our face about, like, because there was a movie, I forget the name of the movie, where they talked about like the baby swapping. Like, they actually swapped a baby, and you're like, oh, that could never happen. Come to
happens
find
so
out,
much more
Apparently
often
it
than
can.
apparently,
Yeah.
My sister always told me I was adopted. I'm starting.
Dude,
now you're making me wonder.
imagine.
Now you're making me wonder.
Well, there's procedures in place nowadays, and then there's specific moms will do that they don't want that child to ever leave the room, not only because of that, but because their kid might go missing.
Dude, imagine. That's just like, what do they do? How do they do that? In the room where all the babies are at, they're like, oh, we found the brown one for the brown parents, right?
Gary, this one must be yours.
This one's y'all's. Okay, it's perfect match. Dude, that is insane, bro. Like,
that's so wild though too. Like, they take your child from you once the child's, in most cases they take them, especially like the preemies, they take them and put them into like the nursery in the area, and it's literally just a giant rectangular room full of babies and little like bassinet looking things, and you're just like, oh, that's mine over there. That one
Yep.
totally looks like me. Like, it's wild.
Imagine how hard it is, especially if two mothers are giving birth at the same time. They both wheel them off into it, and somebody just picks it up, puts it down in the wrong place.
Dude,
23andMe.
23andMe.
That's rough.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a small sample case, right? But like,
how often does that happen?
I would be shocked. I kind of want to find out. I don't have internet. I want to find out.
Wait, you got like an iPad Pro over here, and you don't have internet?
Yeah, I got ChatGPT pulled up. So I'm a slave to my AI.
But here's where the big conspiracy comes into play with like 23andMe and all this genetic testing stuff, is that as companies are acquired, customers' data and DNA is basically sold as part of the transaction. So who's to keep somebody, just a scientist that's a millionaire, from going and buying all this DNA and messing around with it? Like, who's to keep Dr. Fauci from performing more ouchies?
Well, not even that. Didn't they just
wah, 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 wah.
Didn't they just reverse engineer direwolves?
They did. I saw that.
So, and that's all out of DNA pulled out of a direwolf that's 10,000 years old.
The dragons are next.
And so they pulled that DNA out. But imagine they have 23andMe, which is way fresher.
So on the same topic, like on the direwolves, do you think that, and this is completely out there, but do you think that if we were to live in like a flat world ecosystem, that these wolves and dragons and things could still exist on outlands that we don't know about? And they could just be playing scientists. In reality, they're just retrieving them and bringing them back to our land.
Very possible.
Sure. I mean, I was actually wondering, why direwolves?
Yeah, that's
out of all
so
things that are extinct, why that?
Yeah, why not like
why
cows?
Why are we playing with Jurassic Park 5 right now?
Well,
what are we doing?
We haven't done dinosaurs yet.
For all you know, is dinosaurs don't exist anymore. I mean, but they could exist.
Right. So your theory could potentially be if there's some island out there right now with a whole bunch of direwolves, and they're just kind of easing our way into it.
Yeah, they're gonna expose the truth. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, if
aliens are coming through portals.
If the Earth is flat, then
Allegedly.
for sure that could definitely be a thing.
Like the incident out in Miami, right? Like, do you remember the whole debacle out in the Miami Park Mall or whatever it was, where
where they cut it off, like they sealed all media exposure on a certain strip for a while?
Well, not only that, but they responded to a teenager fight at a park at the Miami Park Mall with like 40 responders. Like, they sent the fleet of cops. And then you talk to like eyewitnesses that were there, that were actually in the mall and running. They're like, no, we saw like 3 shadow figure things like that were 12, 14 foot tall behind us, and we didn't want to look again. It's like one of those moments where you see something that you just know, like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out of here, and you don't look back.
I didn't see the.
That was in May of last year, right? That
Yeah,
was like
it was around this time last year.
Yeah, I didn't see the interviews.
And then there's like helicopter footage where they're showing helicopter footage of people like coming, like running out of the park mall.
It looks like a movie.
Yeah,
It actually looks like it's out of a movie.
It's so wild. Like, there's a huge shadow figure that's moving along the actual building, and you could see the shadow like clear as day.
Like shadow or the entity?
I would say the entity.
It looks like a shadow, but it's probably the entity.
Whoa.
Like, it's dark. Like, it's just. It's
Have
like
you not seen this?
I mean, I
It's like
know.
a full-blown street is shut down too, and
I
it's
saw
just
that.
like
I never saw like a shadow entity clip or anything like that.
Well, not to mention they kept it closed for like a week afterwards to investigate. It's like, dude, kids fighting at the mall. Like, you're gonna keep the mall closed for a week because two dudes decided to scrap on at the mall.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, that's wild. Well, and there's a scientist that's blowing the alarm right now. I forget her name. I'll have to look up her name later on, and we'll bring it up next week. But there's a scientist that is calling and saying that CERN scientists who are over there messing with CERN have found 17 different dimensions, and there's actually portals and life forms coming through CERN, which is acting as the portal. So they know of 17 different dimensions already out there.
Well, that's part of it that plays in Revelations, because during the end times, we're going to see unspeakable things. We're going to see things that just defy our reality.
Right. But the most wild thing too is like, okay, so this would be a weird tie, but 23andMe DNA harvesting, they're taking our DNA. What if our DNA gets sold off to a foreign body, like a not China, not Russia,
Supernatural body.
like a supernatural body?
AI.
Well, Elon Musk has already hinted around that.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Did you watch that video about Elon Musk talking about the evolution of AI and where it's going to take us and how it's going to present to us a new god?
Yeah, that was his words. His words.
The Church of AI and
yeah.
stuff?
So no, he was saying straight up like AI will be the origin of our new god. He just like slips it in there while he's talking to
just casually.
What's his name?
The dude from CNN, isn't it?
No, Canadian dude.
Oh,
Peterson. Jordan. He's interviewing with Jordan Peterson, and then he says that, and then there's like this eerie pause, and Jordan Peterson's like, ha, 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 yeah, I'm afraid of that. And Elon's like,
well, that's a wild thing though too. Is like, if
Clip that. Clip that.
What if AI
fucking
was
laughs like an
able to
alien.
take your DNA and your genetic makeup, and in milliseconds clone you and create you?
Quantum
Surely.
computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy day.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think, like in the late 90s, they were like, we're cloning sheep. And then they said, oh, we cloned a sheep. We did it. And then you stopped hearing about it.
Yeah.
It's like it just stopped. I highly doubt that.
Well, and they kind of eased us into the whole cloning process. Do you remember? I think it was Jurassic Park, Fallen Kingdom. Or maybe one of the ones before that, like early 2000s that came out, where they were actually genetically modifying the dinosaurs.
Yeah, yeah. After they had already used DNA to make the first dinosaur.
Right. And then shortly...
It's literally the premise of all Jurassic Parks is the direwolf story.
Right.
But with big, scary dinosaurs.
Well, do you feel like that could be their easing of the human
The predictive
mind?
programming of like, hey, this is going to happen.
Because
Like film?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I'm a firm believer that films that are made aren't just thought of. Like, they don't just come out of nowhere.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that things have to have a human experience, or there has to be an experience, whether it's a reality or it's a remote viewer type experience that they have for these things to happen. So perfect example, if you've ever seen the show Manifest, the show Manifest talks about how they basically disappeared and came back for after 5 years.
Right.
Well, what just happened, I think it was a year or 2 years ago with the Malaysian airline. Now Candace Owens, if you go watch Candace Owens episode 80, she's talking about it.
Love
and they
Candace.
have thermal imaging on the actual airplane, and you could see it kind of floating around, because I guess there was there was drones that were out and about. I don't know how the drones got there, or if it's actually fake, but anyway, they had thermal imaging, and you could see the plane just kind of gliding and falling out of the air, and then all of a sudden it just disappears.
But they couldn't find any of the wreckage.
And they don't find any of the wreckage. Manifest, dude. Manifest came out in 2018 or 17, somewhere around there. And then in 2021, that crap happens.
Yep.
In 5 years from 2021, in 2026, if these people come back, or there's a person that comes back from that flight,
It'd be easier for us to understand because we've already seen it in film, and TV,
it's
and stuff like that.
all conditioning, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
That reminds me.
The Mountain Dew conspiracy theory.
Yeah, this is crazy. So every time there has been a new flavor, it's been linked to catastrophic events. So, for example, the Mountain Dew Star Spangled Splash was released in the weeks leading up to a cargo ship toppling of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. Key, of course, best known for penning the Star Spangled Banner.
Wait, did you catch that? Did you catch that? Did you catch that?
Yeah.
So, the bridge was named after
Francis Scott Key.
Francis Scott Key,
Yeah.
who created the Star Spangled Banner.
Exactly. Another one, the Mountain Dew Maui Blast dropped in 2023, just 3 months before wildfires swept across Maui. Pitch Black, just released, had the biggest IT blackout of all time, bringing up the July 2024 CrowdStrike incident that took several systems offline across the world.
It's wild.
There was another one that came out about Oreo and said that every time Oreo releases something, there is a catastrophic stock market switch or economic collapse.
So are they coming out with a new flavor then?
Well,
Oreo?
Post Malone just had his own Oreo.
Yeah, and Post Malone's been
And then all
telling
this
us
stuff with
about-
the tariffs and just the stock market's going down.
Yeah,
And
did
I
you
mean,
hear- yeah,
it's crazy today.
Post Malone was on a podcast and he said, when they shut down, when you're unable to use your debit card, you have 3 days
To get all your cash.
to get out, basically, before that's when shit hits the fan.
See, but that's what I mean. Like all this stuff, somebody's experiencing it. Like they know it's coming. Like they know what's gonna happen.
Well,
That's
And-
part of the Satanism karma dynamic, is that they believe in an ultimate karma, and in order to release themselves of being getting that karma, that bad karma in return, as long as they tell you what's going to happen, they have no spiritual liability for what they actually inflict.
I was gonna say, because are they just doing that, or do they know it's going to happen, or are they planning it to happen?
Planning it.
Right, because
Right,
like
planning
the fire one with Maui, they could have very easily started that.
Mhm.
Could have very easily started a blackout.
Yep.
You know, so they don't know it's going to happen. They're not remote viewing in. They're like, okay, well, we're going to do
They're
this.
doing
So
it.
yeah,
Right. And so as long as they tell us, it's like saying, hey, this here potion is going to kill you. And there's a lot of information that's telling you it's going to kill you. But the fact that we told you and you still took it and die, we are not liable for said spiritual karma because we told you this is what it's going to do. Because you choose to have this spirit of fear and not accept because you're in your comfy little bubble.
Yeah.
You know, it's not our fault. We told you.
I'm curious to see if there's anything in the little checkbox after you do the 23andMe thing. If there's like a, hey, if
Like in
we
the
sell,
small writing.
well, yeah, like if we sell off your DNA to company A, you can't sue us for them creating another version of you.
So it's in their terms and conditions.
Oh, there
is.
is?
There is a terms and conditions. It's like 8 pages long. And the problem with terms and conditions is nobody reads them.
Ain't nobody reading that shit.
It's just like,
Like the
dude,
South Park episode where they sell off their bodies.
It's off their bodies. Dude, I haven't read more than 2 words on an Apple agreement, and I update my phone like almost all the time.
Well, you're dead. So
Yeah,
that's,
yeah, well, yeah. Sorry to
Fucking
break it
drone
to you.
just pops up in here. And tap on this here.
Yeah,
IKEA,
this isn't
IKEA
wood.
desk.
So go over to, back to Padlet real quick, and let's wrap up with 23andMe. And while Gary does that, if you're not following Truth Disorder, what are you waiting for? You're looking for all the hot conspiracies on the interweb
Yep.
by Gary, Charles, David, and myself, Ernesto. Head over to truthddisorder.com, subscribe, get access to the Red Pill.
Red Pill.
Red Pill.
Padlet. Literally took me years to compile all of that research. Believe it, don't believe it. All I can do is put information in front of people. If you don't want to believe it, I ain't gonna be mad at you. We can have a conversation. You can call me crazy. You can say all of this, whatever you want to say to me to make yourself feel better about yourself.
or you can
It's fine.
comment,
I
and then
will-
we can research and then
Yeah.
put it on there.
Yeah, Let me be your pincushion.
Only at truthdisorder.com. Head over there right now. Click subscribe. Get access to the red pill.
Exactly.
So Church of AI, but I want to look a little bit more into and talk more about the Blackstones.
Okay.
So the Blackstones, again, were brought up in conspiracy because they have a lot of legal issues that they are facing due to medical industry practices and things along those lines. So who is Blackstone? Blackstone was founded in 1985 by Steven Schwarzman and Peter G. Peterson. That's a weird name to have.
Sounds fake to me.
Sounds fake to me.
Peter G. Peterson.
Peter G. Peterson, LLC.
Peter G. Peterson.
How's that of Delaware? Out of that one building that's got thousands of companies.
Weird.
And this is the tagline on their website, blackstone.com. It says, building infrastructure of the future. That's like the most, that's like the weirdest tagline you can have on your website when you just bought 23andMe.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that.
And even the Pentagon warned the military not to use 23andMe.
Check this out. It says, from data centers to the energy that powers them, Blackstone is providing the infrastructure to fuel the AI revolution.
We're cooked.
We're cooked. Straight up.
So asset management, they have over $1 trillion in asset management. So just to put it in perspective of how big this...
Is that their logo?
That is their logo.
A big maze?
If you look at it weird, you can see the black.
That's
that's wild.
Oh, I'm seeing these weird
I didn't even look at it that
Yeah, me neither. I've seen these weird cubes in there.
Yeah, that's what I saw. If you're watching Truth Disorder right now, if you know anything on that logo, do your thing, internet.
It's like that thing back when we were in school where it had those books where you held them up real close and you go out.
And then you come out and it shows you the actual image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There's that movie that kind of I feel like it's starting to relate to this. That's why I was like, well, I don't like that. What's that one with the dude that was in Jurassic Park and the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Chris Pratt?
Yes.
Chris Pratt.
And Jennifer Lawrence. They're in that ship and he wakes her up. And then it's all controlled by AI and the robot.
Yep. He woke her up too early.
But it's because there's thousands of people that are just growing and they're on their way to a new planet, basically. And maybe they're taking maybe that's the conditioning that we're having right now.
She's like, where am I at? And he's like, I just
wanted you.
So I picked the prettiest one here. Honestly, straight up, that's some shit I would do.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll take that one.
That one.
So the big thing here is that the critics worry that genetic data could be monetized, shared, or sold in ways users didn't even originally consent to. So if we think about we talked about this several episodes ago, but the whole Analytica issue with Facebook.
I'm changing slides because this thing is tripping me out. It's like even my peripherals
is... when you change that. So going back to Analytica, right? So we had this huge data issue with Facebook and what they had access to because they had a third-party vendor called Analytica out in Sweden. And one of the CEO or one of the people on the board was Dick Cheney. Yeah. But that was the data that was being sold to marketers so that they could market to a specific demographic based off of interest, based off of household income, based off of did they just pop a kid out of the womb? Literally had so much data on us. And marketers... It was the most invasive form of data collection in the history. Still is. Which is why we have the filters that we do in place now, because Facebook did take some actions. They got sued. And now we can reject some cookies. And of course, who is really I do it. I'm very adamant about it's giving me the cookie option. Now I got to press the button, open the selections, and I'm like, nope. Necessary cookies only, except it's the most annoying. But just think about what a corporation like that could do with your DNA. What are they going to sell it for? What do they need your DNA for? Right? They could sell it to scientists to do research to cure cancer or cure Gary's, issues, whatever it might be. Or they could sell it to the pinky and the brain who are going to rule the world one day and going to go ahead and use that and clone you and create versions of you and impersonate you. Yep.
Well, I mean, obviously a moneymaker here is if they can find some sort of correlation between certain people who have the same DNA and advertise, and they have the same advertisement interests. I mean, sky's the limit, really,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
If
all
you
over
can just
the place.
program advertisements per DNA per person, it's just right.
Yeah.
And are we also crazy to think that they don't have a cure for cancer? Because I'm pretty sure they
I've been
should.
seeing
Tell
a
that
lot of
to
stuff
this-
talking about cancers being basically parasitic mechanisms, and that if allegedly you do a biopsy on a cancer, it actually makes it worse because it cuts open the parasitic mechanism into your body and then therefore increases the chances of spread. So I've been seeing a lot of stuff. That's what Mel Gibson was talking about on Rogan's podcast. And that's actually how I found out about methylene blue, because he was talking about he had three or four friends who had stage 4 cancer, and they were taking fenbendazole and ivermectin for human consumption, and then also methylene blue. So when I heard about that, I was like, oh shit, let me find out about that. But it was really good for anti-inflammatory. Methylene blue is anti-inflammatory, and it's a nootropic, and it's actually seen applications in ADHD, bipolar disorder. It's a catch-all. It's like a miracle elixir. The only weird thing about it turns your pee blue, but honestly, I think that's freaking awesome. I have blue
I'm a
pee now.
Smurf. I'm Papa Smurf.
Reeling it back a little bit, like the treatment of cancer as a parasitic mechanism is seeing a lot of success. I'm in a lot of cancer groups, and I actually started getting into cancer groups in Facebook just because I started seeing this. So there's this independent scientist, absolutely brilliant. You can find him on X. His at is Parsifaler. It's Parsifaler, and he was doing just independent. He's an independent researcher. He was doing amazing research on the COVID vaccine, and that's where I was getting a lot of my information from. And literally 100% of the stuff that he actually predicted that would happen is actually being proven right now. For example, people that got extra COVID boosters and whatnot, they have been known to get like turbo cancers, heart conditions, and this is stuff that everything he was putting all this stuff out and then got banned, and then when Elon came and owned it, then he actually showed back up and they unbanned his stuff. But all that to say, if you treat cancer like a parasitic disease, you're going to have greater success. And I'm not a doctor. I'm just going based off what much smarter people have actually said about it. If you treat it like a parasite, i.e., stop sugar, get anti-parasitic medication, CBD, THC, what's the really strong black stuff? Like it's like I forgot what it's called, but it's a derivative of hemp, but it's very concentrated hemp. I think it's called like RSO. I think I'm very certain it's called RSO. But if you take all three, there are protocols that you can take with all three of those things, and it is an insane success rate. Like people literally on their deathbed, if you find David Schwartz, SCHWARZ, he has a cancer group called My Cancer Story Sucks, and just I read so many testimonials damn near every day about people talking about them using this protocol and actually curing their cancer after doctors have already given up on them. So food for thought. Yeah.
That's wild.
Of course, take everything with a grain of salt, but I'm not saying that for entertainment purposes. My sister is right now battling cancer because it was crazy, like to see how that's actually panning out, right? Because when I was seeing because she got the boosters and she was scared because she had a special needs child and didn't want to put his life in danger. So she was like, "Whoa, no, I gotta, protect my kid." So she got the shots, and to see how she's going through it now, you know what I mean? And still to this day, she is scared to try these other forms of treatment because the doctors are just like hitting her with so much fear. Like, no, you don't need any of this. Like, keep coming here, keep doing your chemo. Don't listen to these crazy conspiracy theorists. But
well, it's a struggle too, because not only are you dealing with your life, right, but how do you trust on both sides? How do you trust the doctors? Obviously, I mean, you'd want to trust them. You want to put all your trust in them because they went to school for it. right? Like right now, like Brooke just left the neurologist, right? And I was like freaking out because I don't know what to do. I don't know if she knows what to do. And she's just like, well, we got to trust the doctor because he's a neurologist, you know? But how do you trust somebody that you just met that is probably being sold every single day to the pharmaceutical company or whatever pharmacist is coming over and saying, hey, push my drug, push my drug, push my drug. How do you trust that? You know?
Right.
But then also, how do you trust the other side where it's like, do your own research? Well, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to do decades and decades of research. That's why we go to the doctors.
Yeah.
Because they've done the research. And we just have to put our trust in them.
So if you listen to a lot of doctors that talk about vaccines, the honest ones will admit that they barely spend much time learning about, the vaccines, the mechanisms of vaccines. They're just told, hey, this is how much research we have on all these vaccines, and we're studying the history of vaccines. But they don't show the correlations of like when the polio vaccine, for example, came out, the polio pandemic was already on the downswing because it was around the same time that water and septic infrastructure started to come up. We started to fund clean water, clean ways to go poop and pee, which is funny to say out loud, but but to see like how that actually started to give us a healthier society. And then vaccines come, and it's like, oh, well, vaccines take the credit. Why is that? We just started living healthier lives. We started having healthier infrastructures around us.
Right. And what's really wild right now with like the vaccine stuff is like all these doctors and nurses and everybody that were shadow banned and had their licenses revoked because they went against, big corp. Are now being proven right? Like I just saw something out of the Daily UK, and they were one of the big publishers
Super
of
living.
Like, hey, you need to get the vaccine. You need to get the vaccine.
Or you're a terrorist.
Now writing articles about, hey, if you got the vaccine, you could be experiencing side effects and you could have issues right now that you don't even know about. Like, did you have ringing in your ears? Do you have nausea all the time? Do you have this? Like that is technically
palpitations,
a side
low
effect
energy.
of the mRNA vaccine. See, what's funny too, though, is like I told my wife when the COVID vaccines came out, I told her, I go, what's funny is like everybody's dogging on Johnson and Johnson over here, right? But they were one of the most unique, like I guess more traditional style vaccines because it was a viral vector vaccine versus an mRNA vaccine.
Exactly.
And I was like, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go ahead and totally push that one as a bad one. Like it's not working. It doesn't do its job. It's terrible. And they had to stop it. Yeah. Right. Meanwhile, these other two big corporate players over here who are like funded by NIH, they have
Pfizer and
politician investments into it. Yep. Like we're going to push the crap out of those. And I mean, that's exactly what they talk about in Bible scripture, right? Like Satan will, push good out and put bad in place.
Well, good is bad and bad is good.
Exactly. And to deceive. Like we're going to deceive you. But with this, it's wild with the 23andMe because this is one of the articles that I found about Blackstone. They're basically a repeat offender in healthcare fraud settlements.
Don't get me started.
So, I mean, the corporation that literally just bought 23andMe has assets over $1 trillion is a repeat offender of healthcare fraud. So what are they going to do with our DNA? Like, what is their plan? What's their end goal? I mean, their website talks about revolutionizing the evolution of AI and how everything's going to be AI driven. I think it's just a matter of months, if not weeks, if not days before they throw our DNA into a data bank and go create genetic mock-ups of everyone.
Yeah, and I think Pfizer was one of like the biggest of, they were on everything. Like no matter what you watched during COVID, it was sponsored by Pfizer.
Right.
And they were paying for bits. On certain night shows and, and halftime shows, and there's so much. And then you look at Pfizer's history, $2.3 billion settlement with the U.S. government in 2009, a $1.3 billion criminal fine after pleading guilty to misbranding inflammatory drugs. Chantix was crazy, dude. 200. Where's my money on Chantix? I took Chantix in 2010, and I remember sitting in a living room during a house party. Well, it wasn't like a crazy party. We're chilling in the living room, and I literally look up and I see me. There was literally a vision of me hanging from my ceiling fan and just like twisting around like dead. And I literally said to everybody in the room, I said, hey guys, would it be crazy if we just died by hanging from a ceiling fan? And people just looked at me like, what? You know, and I had no idea that was, you know, it's like a Chantix thing, right?
Yeah.
I was on Chantix at that time, but there's lawsuits. Dude, they had lawsuits for Lyrica, Geodon, Rapamune, Celebrex, Depo Testosterone, Protonix, Effixor, Zoloft, Eliquis, Lipitor, and Trovan. Off-label promotion, kickbacks, False Claims Act violations, suppression of evidence, misrepresenting COVID-19 vaccines. What the fuck?
I mean, theoretically,
Go and get your vaccine. You're gonna save yourself.
theoretically, with having our DNA and then also being able to make drugs that do things like this, you could do one of two things, right? The cloning process that we talked about already, but you could also, like you said, like biological weapons, right? Create biologic weapons, but you could do if you have the disease, if you can create the disease, but you can also create the cure.
Yep. That also
You're
goes
running the
into
world at that point.
Exactly, and that goes into the beast system of the Antichrist. That's what they're saying about mRNA, that it may or may not be a derivative technology of CRISPR, right? And CRISPR, do you guys know what CRISPR is? So CRISPR, let me brief summary, because they'll say this much better than I can.
While you pull that up, though, to your question, do you think this could be all because they want to find a cure for eternal life? Like they want us to live eternal life here on land versus with Jesus.
But doesn't
such
death
a
pay?
facade. Such a facade. That's why they're doing Neuralink. That's why they're having movies right now. That's another Chris Pratt movie that just came out on Netflix where they're, you know, injecting the consciousness of somebody into a robot, and then in the movies they're treating this robot as the human as they used to be. I feel like that's why it's such a facade, because they're going to be able to do certain things that impresses on people and convinces them like, oh, we can actually have eternal life.
Right.
You know, and save our memory, you know, into however many terabytes, whatever you want to call it, and then transfer me over. But they might be able to make robots that seem just like us, or that actually are identical to us. But I can guarantee you there is no soul in that robot.
But that's what I say too. Like they want to deter us from knowing the God exists, right? From going and living with our Creator, with you know, God and Jesus. And
well, there's nothing new under the sun. It's a total Tower of Babel parallel,
right? But that's what I'm getting. Like again, like they want us to live eternal life on land, not with Him,
not with Him. But we still won't have that eternal. To everybody else that's still alive, and that, you know, I'm going to live my full life until I experience some sort of really bad hardship, and I'm really ready to be in a robot and not have these pains anymore. When they pitch that in the next commercial sponsored by Pfizer, they're going to say, hey, look, this is my auntie or Uncle Gary is so much happier now in this robot. You know, he's having such a good life, and he's able to run as fast as he ever could, and, you know, no more glass ankles, and, you know, he's such a happy guy. And everybody sees that commercial, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, so also I'm going to do the same thing, right? But then at the end of the day, like, if they do that, they won't have a soul. You won't have a soul when your memory becomes a robot, okay? You heard that here first. You won't have a soul. Your soul will be gone. Your soul will be gone. Gone. Just your memory will be a robot. You will be a machine, but it won't be you. It'll be an image of you, okay? An image, system backup on a robot. Soul gone. Soul gone forever. Shit. Sorry.
So I guess what you're trying to say is they're trying to monetize the afterlife.
Monetize, brilliant. Couldn't have said it better myself. Monetizing the afterlife, and then imagine paying to get your soul just damned.
But couldn't that be where 23andMe being sold to Blackstone be going? Like that's the exact
it's
trajectory.
all encompassing. And then and the Bible talks about how the Antichrist, you know, essentially at a snap of a finger, like Thanos, could perform miracles. So that's why I brought up CRISPR, because the gene editing tool, science have adapted this natural system to edit DNA and other organisms, including humans, by using a CRISPR-associated protein Cas9 enzyme and a guide RNA to target specific DNA sequences. So Applications: treat genetic diseases by correcting faulty genes, improve agriculture by creating crops with desired traits, study fundamental questions biology, develop new therapies for cancer and other diseases. When you add something like lipid nanotechnology into the body, which can actually be manipulated through sound and other radiation applications, you could identify someone's body with an IP address and the snap of a finger cure that cancer, cure that AIDS, cure that herpes, cure whatever you thought could not be cured before, but easily just press a button and you're cured. And then the Antichrist will seem like God.
Maybe that's what Elon's hinting about.
And then, exactly. And once you have that proof in the pudding of people, I had AIDS. Imagine the testimonials sponsored by Pfizer. Imagine having the testimonials in the middle of halftime commercial. I am the first cancer patient ever cured at the snap of a finger. Thank you to the originator of this amazing technology. Saved my life. And I'm probably going to put my brain in a robot now because it's such a good idea. Yeah, or however that narrative is actually going to look like. Yeah. Right. So it's all
the fine print says you may lose your soul.
Imagine the fine print, right?
And you can only put this together at truthdisorder.com. Subscribe to the
red pill.
Dun dun dun. That's nuts. I'd never heard of CRISPR.
That shit's been around for a hot minute.
But now that you point that out, it makes 23andMe's acquisition from Blackstone even more damning.
Exactly.
So if you're considering doing 23andMe or ancestry.com, ditch it. Don't do it.
Or do whatever. Like honestly, it's
or do what you do.
Well, what's the main drive? Why do people want to do that? Is it just because they want to learn about their ancestry?
Because their parents lied to them and told them that they were African American, and it turned out that they're white.
But why does that matter now?
Here's why. Right? Because here's something that every single person in the entire history of the world has in common: the fear of death. Whether you had the fear of death now or you had the fear, everybody has had a fear of death at some point in their lives, at least if it's even for a millisecond. So that is something that you can actually tap into, and it's something that the Bible speaks to 100%. If you don't believe in the grace of Jesus, if you don't believe that there is that free grace and there's something so much more beautifully, like indescribable on the other side of your life in that eternal aspect, you're gonna buy right in. Like this was just a training ground,
right?
Like in archaic and in barbaric societies, what they would do to dehumanize and depersonalize the countries that were conquered in war, the first thing that they would do, they would mask them, because it completely takes away the humanization, your self-humanization. You can't see your reflection. You can't see anybody else's faces. Yeah. You all become a lower tier in the class system.
And what did we just do for the last 2.5 years?
Boom. It was all a training ground.
Do you ever feel like we live in The Sims? You remember the game The Sims? Like a lot of people always would post about that back in I always thought they were crazy until I actually started doing my own research, because people always used to post like, oh, we live in the world of The Sims, like
the Matrix.
We live in a Matrix basically. What's even more wild, and I don't know if you've seen this video too, is that now people are overlaying the Open AI logo over the flag of Israel, because the star of, I forget the exact name of it, but they line up perfectly. So I don't know what the correlation there is. I got to do a little bit more research, but things are starting to.
Things are coming together.
Things
are coming
together. It's crazy because how much we actually use AI too, especially in our business.
Yep.
Right. I mean, we were just having a conversation about I put my newsletter together with AI. However, I remember a few years ago where I was like, I don't want to use it. It just paid somebody on Fiverr to figure out a CAPTCA. Yep. It's acting like a human. I don't like this.
At some point.
And now I'm like, let's use AI.
Same here. Because the world
I got my Meta glasses.
Because the world starts moving so much faster, and if you want to make that money, or at least make half that money, you have to
buy back your time with AI.
You have to get into it.
Speaking about money, everybody just got richer with what happened with stock market because of Donald Trump coming out on tariffs.
Richer?
Well,
It exploded this morning, didn't it?
I mean, people who bought during this dip because, oh no, the sky is falling. We're in a recession, even though we're at historical highs.
Literally took 2 days.
Oh my goodness, Trump's so bad. He's destroying the economy. And yeah, I mean, everybody's waking up. Trump came out and said he put 104% tariff tax on China, I think it was. And then Kevin O'Leary came out today as well and was like, I don't think that's enough.
I want 400.
I want 400%. I love the Chinese. They do nothing but great things and innovation and bringing tech.
What he said was crazy. He said, we need to smash them Chinese brains against the walls.
No, he literally did. He goes, we're going to squeeze their heads against the walls until Xi comes over here to the U.S. and has a meeting. Because if you were to put a 400% tariff on them, they would have nothing, they would have nothing else to do other than come and agree. Or
Yeah, because you don't see the made in America a whole lot here, but you definitely see made in China.
That is extremely inflammatory, and to do that to a superpower like China is so dangerous. You know when that happened before? We did that. Frank Roosevelt, or was it Teddy? It was Frank Roosevelt did that shit to Japan. Just inflammatory, cut off trade routes, did so much to almost force their hand to bomb Pearl Harbor. He even got notice the night before that planes were heading to Pearl Harbor and took no action before Pearl Harbor was actually surprise bombed, in order to force our hand into getting into the war.
right.
To make us, it was like a false flag, but in order to, to have that reason to get in to impose our will.
So do you think another war is coming because of these tariffs?
Yeah.
You think World War III is about to pop off?
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I just think I thought it was
because he's not just going after China. He's literally imposing tariffs on
he's
everybody.
done
Canada was wild.
Yeah,
Saying that to Canada was wild.
But he's done a 90-day pause on tariffs to other countries. He's just keeping the tariffs on China in place right now. And I don't know why 104%. That's like the oddest number. We need to do a little research on why
I'm no
104%.
economist. You can look at my lack of savings account and determine that.
Has it been 104 years since something?
Oh,
I mean,
that's actually
what happened in 104
numerology. That could be a good explanation.
Because what is it? Q is always about numbers.
Yeah.
So if anybody follows Q, let us know what they're hinting at here.
The anons.
The
It may
anons.
be enough to be a sign of disrespect, but not enough to be like, oh, okay, now we got to do something about it.
It's just the most random number. But the stock market woke up happy because he did that, and he put that 90-day pause, and the stocks are all green. I mean, we're looking at Tesla. It's up $21 today. So all you liberal tears out there.
So I didn't really know exactly what tariffs were, so I looked up what tariffs were and asked ChatGPT to kind of put it down in simple pop culture references.
Right.
So for anybody that's trying to learn about tariffs, allow me to read. I don't really like reading on the podcast, but I'm not versed in this as much as I wish I was, but let's learn something together. So WTF are tariffs? Okay, so tariffs, think of them like a cover charge at the club, but for products coming into the U.S. If another country wants to sell us stuff like TVs, cars, or whatever, they have to pay a little extra at the door. That extra cash goes to the U.S. government. The whole idea is to make foreign stuff more expensive so you're more likely to buy American-made instead. USA, ChatGPT. Now it sounds patriotic and all, but there's a twist. That cover charge, companies usually pass it on to us, the consumers. So now your new phone or washing machine costs more, and you're like, wait, am I paying this tariff? Yes, you are. A fun example, during the Trump years, the U.S. slapped tariffs on a bunch of Chinese goods, like electronics and even dog leashes. China was like, oh, really? And hit back with their own tariffs on American soybeans and whiskey. Basically, it turned into a global of, oh, no, you didn't kind of drama. You can close with, ChatGPT telling me to close with this. So tariffs are kind of like drama queens meant to protect U.S. industries, but they can stir up some serious international tea. Tariffs, not perfect, but better than shipping our future overseas. Here's the deal, folks. Here's your deal, folks. Here's the deal, folks. Tariffs aren't the problem. This is the right-leaning version of terrorists. They're the solution. For too long, we let other countries walk all over us. They took our jobs. They took our factories. They sold us back our own stuff with a made in China sticker on it. Well, guess what? That ride is over. Tariffs level the playing field. They protect American workers, American steel, and hot damn American pride. So when they scream about trade wars, I say, bring it on, motherfucker. Because if putting America first offends you, maybe you've been putting America last. Hashtag liberal tears.
Hashtag little trios energy. You know what's wild though is like going back to the U.S.'s glory days. I say glory days. 1892, America was in its richest state. Mm-hmm. And how were we so rich? Tariffs. We didn't have a federal income tax structure. We didn't have any of that state income tax structure.
But didn't we have
Tariffs.
more industrial value to bring the world than they had?
We had more trade value to bring to the world, but we were also backed by gold and silver, which held more value back in the day than a fiat. So,
I mean, oddly enough, tariffs make sense if we have a great value to provide the world. We are one of the dumbest countries in the world right now.
I'll push back a little on that.
I'll hear it.
Per Kevin O'Leary, we actually own 39% of all consumables, which are made here in the U.S. So we have everything every other country wants, and we don't tariff them enough.
So now is the time to tariff then.
Now is the
That's
time
what
to
would make
tariff
sense.
because historically we've been tariffed.
If our generation takes over, because we still got baby boomers running shit to an extent, right?
Yeah.
But if our generation takes over, have a chance, but sorry, next generation. Let's have a moment of silence.
Yeah. You're 22 trying to figure out left from right still. I'm a unicorn.
Yeah.
But so like I think Europe was one of the examples that I saw. Europe actually imposes a 50% or 55% tariff on automotive brought in from the U.S., which is why our automotive industry isn't big in Europe. Like you can't go to Europe and find a Ford running around. You don't go find a Chevrolet running around, right? Mm-hmm. Like what they've done is generally open up like a sub manufacturer or something along those lines, and they actually are there, right? Like everything's made there. It's not imported anymore. But the U.S. has been tariffed the heck out of from other countries. So it's only right that we return the favor.
Because we're buyers.
It's because we're
just
consumers.
consume. Yep.
Who invented USA since Trump took president? Oh, invested.
So this is where I feel like I have hope, because since the new presidency, there has been so much new investment.
All right, hold on. Why do they make him look so orange?
So Johnson & Johnson, investments of more than $55 billion, right? SoftBank, $100 billion investment. UAE, United Arab Emirates, $1.4 trillion agreement for our AI infrastructure. Taiwan, $100 billion into its U.S. operations. $500 billion private investment AI led by OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. Apple announced $500 billion investment. So I'm seeing a lot of entities start to invest more into us as a country, which gives me hope. Unless they're, just kind of buying in their way to more,
I'd be willing to bet about the UAE thing about the all their major projects that they're trying to get people over there for, like the wall.
Yep.
That's the one that sticks out to me as the UAE.
Yep.
So did you? And we'll probably wrap it here, and talk a little bit more about this next week. The central bank digital currency (CDBC) is a Federal Reserve Board that's being structured right now. They actually employ 500 people. I think the goal is by the end of the year to have 2,000 employees actually working for this federal government, which a lot of crypto people are starting to assume, like, oh, here it comes.
It really isn't decentralized.
Right.
That's what most of us think. I mean, them think.
Red pill.
You know what's funny is so Danny Duncan. Do you know who Danny Duncan is? Have you've never seen Danny Duncan? Danny Duncan 69. Anyway, he's a big YouTuber. He knows who Danny Duncan is probably. He posted on his story the other day. He posted on his story. He was like, "Don't forget to report all your illegal activities because the IRS wants to know about it."
Oh yeah, I'm sending Venmo transfers of $4.99.
You mean $5.99?
What? No, I'm not. No, there's a $5.99 filter at the IRS. I know that. I'm at $4.98.
I just did my taxes. I want you to know I claimed every single one of those Venmo requests. Just FYI.
Same.
I lost all my money. I don't know where it went. So. It was a loss.
Can't tax the mattress.
What's fun?
So I tell my wife.
I want to get your.
Okay, that's how she got pregnant.
So that's how babies are made.
# blessed life.
So I was talking to Dom when we came in, and we'll close here. But I was talking to Dom about this. What's your take on like federal minimum wages and having it imposed on like smaller businesses, right? Because when I think about this, like I own a small business. I own a small business, and when we look at it, like minimum wage is $7.25 here in the state of Texas. It's kind of odd that like there's a federal set minimum wage. I am a firm believer it should be up to the actual business, not up to the government on how much I actually want to pay, right? Like even in real estate, everything's negotiable, right? Like sellers don't have to pay that 3%. They could be like, "Screw you, Johnny. I'm going to pay you 2.5%."
Yeah,
like,
I want my house to sit for 6 months.
Yeah, I want my house to sit, whatever the case might be. Everything's negotiable, but that doesn't imply to actual federal minimum wage. And you know, when we're thinking about tariffs and taxes and things like that, like these smaller businesses don't reap the same rewards as the big businesses, right? Big businesses right now, when we look at unemployment and employment rates, they just employ people for the tax benefit.
Yeah.
Like they're not employing a person just to employ them in most cases, especially right now where businesses aren't necessarily growing. They're kind of managing. They will be growing here once our economy starts really taking off, but it's harder for like the little guys to basically grow if they have to pay X.
The ones that suffer the most in that sort of structure are the restaurants and the bars. The ones that are paying them $7.25 because they want to keep their costs down. They want to keep food, cheap. And so, because I used to do management in restaurants, and so like you pay an entry level employee that would come in, even a good wage in my time was $10 an hour for a waitress or a front desk person. $10 an hour plus tips. That's crazy good. That's great. And then you hear about employees in like California who are getting $15, $18 an hour now, and it's just like, well, over here in San Antonio, Texas, they want that same livable wage, but then you have to
different economy,
and then you also have to explain to them, well, yeah, but you're not paying $35 for a cheeseburger. If you want that, we can do that. So like, if you want cheaper food, I have to because now you start cutting in my margins, and that's why most restaurants, especially restaurants, fail so quickly. It's because they misjudge that. And you can think what you want, but their margins are razor thin, especially as a restaurant owner, razor thin. And they're trying to give their employees a livable wage, but then they can't do that. So you start having government come in and say $15 an hour. You have to charge them $50. Well, then
it's an attack on.
I have to make my cheeseburger $20 now.
It's an attack on middle class owned businesses, and that's been left. Dems, whatever, like that, like you guys have really been pushing for socialism for way too long, and it's really been attacking middle class. Yeah. And honestly, the beauty of American culture and the beauty of American business is the ambition and the blood, sweat, and tears that a free person is willing to put into their own business in order to capitalize based on their unique set of skills.
It's a double-edged sword because you want so many. Oh, I wish we could support more locally owned businesses. Yeah, but you're driving them away because they can't afford to start those businesses in the first place.
You're driving them to, and this is where I was going with that, you're driving them to those elite people who
will buy them out and then water down their product.
Who are Whataburger. No, you're driving.
Dom saw the thing and
You're,
was like,
you're,
"Oh, God."
you're killing the small business. You're killing the job the small businesses would have had to offer. You're creating a more corporate job where that guy's just going to reap the reward of the tax benefit when you're screaming and yelling at the top of your lungs for a certain individual, I won't say who, for taking advantage of the tax breaks that you put in place.
Dog, Whataburger used to smack, and now that shit is baking soda.
Baking soda.
That shit is trash.
I think the point is support local no matter where you are,
Try to.
and then it'll lift everybody else up.
Yeah.
You support, even if you're in New York, California, it doesn't matter. Stop going to Chili's.
Well, we saw
Go to your other local place.
we saw that during the
Don't even talk about the chicken crispers. Don't talk about it.
Hey,
wait.
plead the fifth.
But we saw that with the first 4 years.
No.
With the first term, right? We saw the eye and the focus on the small business. We saw our economy boom, right? People who didn't even know they wanted to own a business opened the business and prospered. And then
COVID hit.
Yeah.
And
they killed everybody.
Yeah, killed everybody.
The only people that survived were the big corporations, your Wendy's, your McDonald's, your Burger King, your Chili's, your Applebee's, your Red Robins, like all of those guys just survived.
The 2% of smart business entrepreneurs, those are the ones that survived too.
Because they saved.
Yeah.
They saved money.
Yeah.
They didn't have to
The
take
ones
out
that
those
were
crazy
barely
loans.
making it. Oh,
Yeah.
I have this wild dream. I want to take my chance.
Bad time.
You can't time it.
Nope.
It's tough.
But if you kill the middle class, like the small business, right? You crush that market. You kill the economy.
And you know what saved America?
Donald-
Damn realtors.
Damn real
Realtors, real estate saved America.
Truth disorder.
Okay, so if you're a realtor, you're one of the 12% selling a single home or more in San Antonio market. Boy, keep it going. Okay, you are an American patriot, whether you are left or right. You get it. You start a team. You got 2 homes under your belt. Start a freaking team and tell someone to teach that other 87% how to sell one freaking home. Okay, and snowball that shit. Save America. Be a realtor and a good one.
And drink Liberal Tears energy drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to be a real patriot, boys?
Drink Liberal Tears.
Drink Liberal Tears.
I can't wait till they start paying us to say that.
And on that note, be sure to head over to truthdisorder.com. It's been fun. We've been blessed. Head over to truthdisorder.com. Subscribe today to get access to your
Red pill.
Red pill.
red pill. When I go like this, you go red pill.
Red pill.
Come back next week. We're going to bring you some more interesting conspiracy topics. And we're going to hear David sing.
Oh, it's not happening. Later.